Hello, everyone, and thank you once again for listening to me. I just wanted to speak a wee bit um, about how how we contain the wisdom that we need within us, and about that because we contain this wisdom within us, and this wisdom isn't static. This wisdom flows, so it's like a river of wisdom that we contain within us, but also within us we contain the whole universe. So our perception of what's solid and what's real and size is just an illusion, okay? Because if we were to sit and to think in our logical mind, how can we contain everything within us? Well, there's only the small space within us to do so. But our perception of size, of weight, of structure even is an illusion, as it is with time also. So because we're the beings that we are, because we're the consciousness that we are, it's not that we link into knowing, it's not that we link into wisdom, it is that we already are this knowing and we already are this wisdom. And we contain all knowing and all wisdom because that's how consciousness is. That's what consciousness, that's the nature of consciousness. So having said that, we are consciousness within this physical vessel that we have created for ourselves. And even our perception of being within this vessel isn't accurate, but that's the easy way for us to visualize it for ourselves when we're adapting this human form. So in terms of learning what that means, Justin, this is really what this video is about. In terms of learning, what that means for us is that we're not actually being taught anything. We're expanding as consciousness, we're expanding. And we're discovering more about ourselves. But we're not actually learning anything because we already have the knowledge, but we're being helped to remember. So when someone comes along and teaches us something, they're actually reminding us of what we already have access to. And that's why very often when you read a book or when someone says something to you, you already know it, but you didn't know you knew it until you heard that person say it. That's how this works. And it seems that some people's wisdom, it seems like some people's wisdom is more adapted to understand maths or English or whatever, physics or astrology or mechanics or art or whatever the subject might be. That's not the case. It's simply because of the choice that we've made as this individuated, is that the right word? Individuated aspect has decided on. So we have decided, just as we go through the veil of forgetfulness when we were born, that veil of forgetfulness separates us from our full wisdom. Okay. Now that doesn't mean to say that we can't access that. We can access that, although that's what we do. That's what our belief system tells us we have to work on ourselves to do. The truth is we don't have to work on ourselves to do it. The truth is we only have to allow it. So there's something here as well about stepping away from making everything hard work for ourselves, stepping away from the belief that we have to work to achieve something and simply to allow it to be. Okay. But back again to what I came on to talk about, which quite simply was that we have access to all the knowledge we need. And once we know that, and once we appreciate that, and once we really understand that, then we know that there's not actually any need for inequality between people, okay? Because everyone has the same access. Now, we talk about consciousness. us being consciousness. But in the 3D world, we talk about us being at different levels of development. And in truth, that's an illusion also. Because as consciousness, as the one consciousness, we all are on the same, we all have the same awareness. Okay. But again, we have chosen as we come into this earth plane how to experience that awareness in this physical body. So that's part of the illusion. That's part of the illusion. And the truth is, and the bottom line is, that there's no difference between us and the next person, or us and the person standing in front of us. Now, another aspect of our experience within this human existence is we can't know anything unless we have knowledge of it already. Okay. And that means that we can't, when someone stands in front of us and we believe that we can read their energy, or we can pick up on their energy, or we have the ability to tune into them. The truth is, it's ourselves that we're tuning into, because we can't know anything about that person that we don't know about ourselves. We haven't got the ability to do that. We contain all the wisdom within us, all the knowledge within us. So what we hold within us is what we see in the other person, if that makes sense. So each and every person who comes into our lives is showing us ourselves, because that's all we can see in them. Even though we define them as being separate from us, even though we experience them as being separate from us, even though our understanding is that they're separate from us, we can only see what we see in ourselves in them. And a lot of what we see in other people, we've hidden, buried very, very deeply within ourselves. So when we see something, or when we feel something in another person that we don't like, that's part of our shadow. And that's part of what we haven't dealt with within ourselves. And I'm always reminded when I'm telling you this, what I'm being reminded of is there are people, I'm not sure. I mean, I remember hearing the story about the people who lived in a very remote area of the world, a very remote area of the earth, and they hadn't been contacted by anyone outside of their remote civilization. They never had contact with anyone else except people who lived their way of life and their way of being. And when outsiders, explorers, came to their territory, there were lots and lots of things that they couldn't understand about the explorers because it wasn't in their experience. But when the explorers, for want of a better word, took photographs of these indigenous peoples and showed them the photographs, the people could not see the photographs because they'd never known that in their experience. They'd never known what paper was. So whenever they saw the photographic paper, they felt the paper, and they explored, they were interested in the paper, but they were unable to see their images in the form of photographs on that paper. The same, there's certain people who can see different ranges of colours than others. It's just absolutely fascinating. But the bottom line being that in all sorts of manners, we can't experience anything that we don't already know. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we can't learn, but that's another process. And that process comes from expanding our awareness. And that's why the whole process, the whole idea of ascension, the whole idea of enlightenment, alignment, whatever you want to call it, it's the process that's about expanding our awareness. Okay. And we expand our awareness by connecting with our wisdom that we are, connecting with ourselves as a consciousness that we are, and doing that when fully grounded in the human body. Yeah, so I've rambled a bit. The purpose that I only came on to say really is that everyone who comes into our path comes onto our path for a reason. And that reason is an exchange of energy. And we both exchange, one exchanges the other both ways. And both of us, it's not that we do reflect, but it's deeper than we just reflect part of ourselves onto the other person. No, it's not right. That we're a reflection of the other person. We are. But it's also that we can only see in that other person what we know through our own experience. Okay. And that's part of the reason why people can be called very, very naive. Because if something's outside their experience, they can't see it. They can't see it at all. So in that way, everyone's a messenger to us about ourselves. It's an amazing journey. It's a fascinating journey. It's a fun journey. So remember to enjoy it. Remember to have fun. And I'm going to leave it there. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.